Alright guys, today we are here on the public test server for patch 8.0 to talk about the best build in class for Space Marine 2 Siege Mode, and really, in my opinion, this is the Heavy. Heavy is the only S tier class for Siege Mode currently, as far as I am concerned. The Heavy Plasma Incinerator has absurdly high AoE burst damage cleave, and that kind of becomes mandatory the higher waves you get into, especially with the things like the timer and triple boss spawns. This guy nukes down bosses, this guy has incredible ammo economy and incredible survivability even on his own. I was able to take him to like wave 24 completely by myself with this build, and this guy simply dominates. And Heavy's always been in a good position in this game, and right now, after Tactical kind of got hit with like some bugs and nerfs to his battle focus, I think he's just sitting as like the sole S tier class in the game currently. And as far as my build goes for the Heavy Plasma, which is kind of what I want to get into here, I just take the Rate of Fire variant because we don't really struggle for ammo in this class because of our Prestige perks, which we will get into later. But overall, this is my setup for this. We pretty much build for charge shots. Charge shots are so good in the Horde mode because your AoE burst is excellent. They're pretty easy to charge up, even if you're like point blank in like a Terminator's face or like a Lictor or something. And as long as you know to dodge properly in this game, Heavy just dominates on top of the parry options he has, though he is stuck to a balance window, which is pretty much the only negative of him. Now, as far as my actual perks go, for the core perk tree, Restoration, I think this is also kind of mandatory when you're playing by yourself, and really it's the only option we have here when we're using the Heavy Plasma, because these two suck, and this lets you get a drip feed of armor, so like every 15 seconds you get more armor back, and you are constantly killing 7 enemies in Siege mode, especially with Plasma. So this is constantly proccing, this is giving you a drip feed for your Conviction trigger, for lower range damage, lower health damage, really anything you need to fight against, this is just going to assist you with. So this is a great combo here for your prestige perks. And as far as the core perk tree goes here, I take Fortitude, health increasing by 30%. Health is just too valuable in Space Marine 2 to not take, in my opinion. And this will let you live where other classes will simply die, even with like the 15% buff from their prestige perks. And here I just take more damage while my Iron Halo is active because, again, eventually as you push to higher waves, you will need more damage. That's just like the simple truth of Siege mode. Damage is really, really important in this mode, and that's kind of why I have classes like Bulwark, kind of like in B tier right now, because he really has a good time surviving on his own. It's just he doesn't really do enough damage to bring down bosses effectively, and that's kind of like the filter in this mode, is you have to be able to kill triple boss spawns, and if you can't do that in the hard mode, you'll just die or you'll fail the timer. And that's why this class is just, it dominates. That's really the best way to put it. This class is disgustingly good. Now, probably the most controversial thing here would be the team perk, Encompassing Aegis. I take this. All squad members take 25% less range damage from range attacks. Obviously, I'm playing solo most of the time, so like Bond of Brotherhood doesn't do anything for me, but I think this is much more valuable than Bond of Brotherhood is in the first place, because this comes out to a lot more effective HP across the match anyways, and this also grants damage reduction to classes that really don't have any, like the Assault class, for instance. Really, Assault's pretty much struggling on the Horde mode versus Chaos in the first place. This really helps him out, and it definitely helps you out, especially when you stack it with the Iron Halo starting perk, which is while your Iron Halo is active, all squad members within 50 meters take 10% less damage from range attacks. This is really good combined with this and your Conviction. When these are all put together, you can pretty much sit in a Soul Cannon, because these Soul Cannons in this game, they shred most classes, and this pretty much stops that from happening. And when you do start to get shredded on the Heavy, you just pop your Iron Halo and just blast as many Terminators as you need to and get your health back on an execute or something like that. And speaking of getting your health back and getting executes, Consecutive Execution, killing 7 enemies in rapid succession restores equipment charge, cooldown is 90 seconds. As far as I am concerned, this perk is mandatory on Siege mode. Really, any equipment recharge perk is mandatory, and this again is why I think Bulwark kind of struggles to solo this properly, because while he has a ton of survivability on his own, he does not have any equipment recharge, and not having a Melt-A-Bomb every 90 seconds in the mode that sends like 7 Terminators at you at once at times, this is just too good to not take. You just have to. Like, these other 2 perks, they basically don't exist anymore. Same thing for pretty much every other class that has this option. Now, as far as the shield perk goes, I take Obdurate Bastion. Iron Halo's durability increases by 20%. This is mainly because when you're fighting as many ranged enemies as you are fighting in Siege mode, 20% more durability is going to let you fight against the Triple Hellbrute spawn, and Triple Hellbrute is by far the hardest spawn that Space Marine 2 will ever throw at you. It's harder than Triple Carnifex, it is harder than the Double Carnifex plus Neurothrope. this is what you need to be able to shoot back at them. This will give you like, a 5-second breather against them to get some heavy charged plasma shots on the halberds there. Sorry, excuse me. And really, it's just goated. I used to take this perk, Field Adjustment, but the 25% reduced durability is just not good for Siege mode, in my opinion. And then here, I just take more range damage because, again, damage is king. Now, signature perks. Offensive capability. When active, Iron Halo deals damage over time to all enemies within 5 meters. This is super valuable, and this will one-shot enemies like cultists. This lets you push up into enemies, knock all the cultists over so they don't just like phase through your shield, and also plant like a melt-a-bomb down for your consecutive execution. Super goated perk. I put this way over conversion field here for the 50% ability charge. This is good. I just think this does more for us, and this will also put a lot of enemies into execute occasionally. This will actually save your life a lot, especially when you're by yourself, when this isn't really doing anything for you. So as far as, but those are the perks, but as far as the prestige perks are concerned, auxiliary reload, melee kills of extremis level or higher enemies restore your primary weapon's ammo by 1 magazine. This perk is incredible. This pretty much says you have infinite ammo on the higher waves because you pretty much never run out. This guy is super ammo efficient with this, and this perk scales super high. I say this perk and this perk are the most mandatory perks alongside Fortitude. I think this is pretty much a must take. It's way over these two, but auxiliary reload, if you actually want to take heavy into the higher waves on hard mode, you just have to have this perk. Like, it's just mandatory. It's not the unfortunate truth, but you have to prestige this class. And really, you have to prestige all classes if you want to take them to like the higher waves on your own or in a team, or unless you're like, you want to hold back your team a little bit, because, this is really built. This, the current siege mode, the hard mode here, this is built for fully kitted teams. This is the hardest content the game has ever had. And really, the operations here, they are significantly easier. I was trying out the Ruthless difficulty here to see what the HP was like. But Siege mode, the HP seems like it may be a little lower on hard mode than the Operations Absolute. But really, I have seen no difference in my experience playing hard siege mode versus the absolute difficulty operations. And really, siege mode is just built for fully kitted teams and fully kitted players, because if you don't have your prestige perks in most of these classes, you're going to struggle. And really, that's what the content's there for. It's supposed to be the hardest content in the game. That's definitely how it's built, because nowhere else will you find triple boss spawns. But as far as our other prestige perks are concerned, the only ones I would say are really mandatory are Auxiliary Reload, Conviction, and Indomitable Spirit. Conviction, when your armor is fully depleted, you take 25% less health damage for 10 seconds. It's just too good to not take. Damage reduction becomes super important later. This is the only direct health damage reduction we have for Heavy. This perk is on pretty much every class except for Assault for some reason. Like, this perk really should be on Assault, but it's not. Point is, it's here, and you should take it always. This is a super good perk. This just says you take less damage when you're going to die. This stacked with our range damage reduction means soul cannons don't shred us as much, and you'll constantly have a drip feed with this and your restoration perk, so I pretty much always take this. Now, Indomitable Spirit. While performing a gun strike, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back. This is super good, too, especially when you're fighting lictors. This will stop you from getting knocked out of your gun strikes, and that can happen a lot. This will be especially useful versus Biovores, because Biovores like to knock you over and then face check you, and then, like, even if you have a gun strike active on them, they'll still face check you again and stagger you all the time for no damage. It's really obnoxious, so pretty much just always take these three in my opinion. And the last one I would take is Reverberating Impact. Stomp area of effect radius increases by 50%. The only reason I take this one, you can also take Duelist. It's just like these other perks aren't super valuable. Duelist can help you a bit with some of the perfect parry windows, even though this does not affect the startup of our balanced parry window, because a balanced parry has like a 10 frame startup where you can't possibly get a perfect parry, but this will help the latter end of like your 20 frames, or it's like, I believe it's 20 frames. It goes like 10 frames startup unbalanced, and then 20 frames for the latter half where you can actually perfect parry. So really, this just kind of benefits, like, this lets you catch some extra lictor hits, and occasionally that can be useful. So if you want to take this, you sure can. I would say, like, these four here are probably the meta picks, and then maybe these four. But overall, that's my opinion on the best heavy build for this game, and really, I think this just is the best build for Siege Mode currently. I would be really surprised to see anybody push past like wave 23 or 24 without something with as high like AoE damage as a heavy plasma. Multi-Melta is pretty good. It just kind of lacks ranged, and really whatever the Multi-Melta is giving you, the plasma pretty much gives you as well, on top of having a better artillery, because this lets you get in on things like biovores a lot more easily. And we take the heavy bolt pistol here primarily because this is just better against neurothropes and zoanthropes than the plasma pistol is. Anyways, guys, hope that helps. I do have some videos of me playing this build quite a bit. I have like a 3-hour Wave 24 run that I posted the other day. So if you want to check out this build in action, you can see it here. I'll put it in like a little card at the top of the screen. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like Siege Mode, let me know what you guys think about it in the comments below. I also want to say thank you to all my channel members. Your support is super helpful. It helps me keep making content. I really appreciate it. And as always, if you like content like this, subscribe for more. Take it easy, guys. Peace.